Brought up in Schenectady. So.
Oh, okay.
You like the mineral water at Saratoga?
No.
Oh, your mother didn't bring you up right.
Okay, today is the 10th of August, 2009. We are in Margaretville, New York at the American Legion Post. I believe it's 216.
Yeah,
It's
216.
the Legion Post. And my name is Wayne Clark. And let me just stop it until this phone stops ringing. Okay, sir, for the record, would you please state your full name and your date and place of birth, please?
My name is Ralph H. Persons, Jr. I was born in March the 9th, 1924, in Schenectady, New York, where I spent my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Christian Brothers Academy in Albany, and when we left high school, we went off to the war.
And you graduated from CBA or Christian
CBA,
Brothers?
right.
And what year did you graduate?
1943.
Mm-hmm. And did you enlist or were you drafted?
Well, I kind of wanted to go, but we just kind of waited till it took hold and
Okay.
was drafted
So you were drafted into the Army?
into the Army.
And where did you go for your basic training?
Indian Town Gap Military Reservation in Pennsylvania.
Yes. And what was that like?
Well, I didn't really mind it very much. I kind of enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were all at the same age. We were impervious to any problems.
Mm-hmm. Now, when were you there?
I think we left, when we left Schenectady, we wound up in Camp Upton, Long Island.
Uh-huh.
And I think we were there about 3 days, and we had all kinds of tests, all kinds of shots.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we went to Indian Town Gap.
Okay.
And
That was right after.
that was where our basic training was.
That was right after high school.
Right, yeah.
All right. And was that your first time away from home?
Yeah, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And once you completed your basic training, where did they send you?
They sent us up to Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were in Camp Miles Standish, and which we were doing port work. That's more or less what we were doing. And then we shipped out in March.
Okay. So you didn't have any additional training besides basic?
Well, no, I did. I became a ship's winch operator,
Okay.
and that was my specialty.
Was that like on-the-job training?
No, we actually went to a school
Okay.
for like 3 or 4 weeks, and we learned that skill.
Mm-hmm.
And then we left the port of Boston, and this was in March.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty rough weather. In fact, for 2 days, we were on the Argentine. For 2 days, you couldn't even go down on the main deck. We were really hauling water, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't get seasick. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a kind of a tricky deal. There's 4,500 guys on the ship, and I think 4,000 of them were throwing up.
Oh. Were you in a convoy or?
Yeah, oh yeah, we were in a
Uh-huh.
convoy. And it took us 9 days, and we landed in Greenock, Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were stationed right there in Glasgow for a short time. And then one day somebody said, you have to paint a blue arc on your helmet. What's that mean? You don't have to know what it means, just paint the blue arc on your helmet. And that apparently was our engineering category.
Okay.
And from there we were shipped to Plymouth. And then from Plymouth we were shipped to Cardiff, South Wales.
Mm-hmm.
And from there we boarded a ship, and this was June the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew we were part of D-Day, but on our ship we had a British Commodore, and he had his own radio man, young kid. Yeah, I guess maybe it was wishful thinking. We kept saying, he'd come down every afternoon, hey, did it start yet? No, it didn't start yet. And every day he'd come down and start yet. Didn't start because we were the ones who were going to start it.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed at Utah Beach, which the famous Teddy Roosevelt Jr. said, well, we're in the wrong spot, but we might as well start the war right here, which we did. And fortunately, everything kind of went right at Utah, and everything went wrong at Omaha.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you under any fire at all when you landed?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in fact, the Nevada was right on our starboard beam, and she was laying in, salvos of things. And then there was a destroyer, the other side of that, they were laying in some kind of rocket stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, we had our job to do. Oh, interesting thing, I got aboard the ship, I said to our officer, where can I sleep? All the bunks were gone. There was 500 bunks in the last hatch, and they were 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne, and 4th Division. And what they did, they put a group, they were the light artillery units of the 82nd, 101st Airborne, and of course 4th Division Infantry. And they said, where can I sleep? Is there any place you want? And all the bunks were gone, and I wasn't about to take a bunk away from a paratrooper. They're too big.
Mm-hmm.
So I slept under a truck for 5 days. And again, I did not get sick. Fortunately, I guess when you got sick, some people were really, really quite ill.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got our ship unloaded D-Day. We were there at 6:30 in the morning, as the monument tells us. And we got our ship unloaded. Now it's about 9 o'clock at night. And our company commander said, you better get some sleep. So now we have bunks that we can sleep in. And during the night, the Liberty ship right next to us took a bomb right down the number 5 hatch, killed, I think, five or six lads. And the next morning we went ashore.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very funny thing. The fellow in front of me stepped in a hole or stumbled, and he's flat in the water. And so I grabbed him by his pack and stood him up. And the lieutenant in the back is screaming, don't let him get his rifle wet. And the poor guy is out of sight. And it was probably a nervous reaction of the lieutenant's part.
Yeah.
Well, he get his rifle wet. And then we had to dig a hole, and I lived on the beach for pretty near 7 months.
Oh, right there on the beach?
Right there on the beach, yeah. We worked the ships.
Uh-huh.
That was our job. And
Now, what about the wounded and the dead? Did they come through there?
yeah. In fact, I was pretty good at my job. In fact, I got a job of taking a couple of wounded off with the winch, and
Mm-hmm.
you had to be kind of careful when you got a little truck. That don't make much difference. You can drop a truck, but you can't drop a human.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then next thing we know, we were seeing prisoners coming off, and every once in a while we get shelled on the beach, and we used to kind of laugh because you could hear the shells coming in, and they wouldn't go off. Well, later on I read, you make a remark how dumb they are. They can't make a shell that goes off. But what happened, the slave labor were making the shells, and they made duds when they could. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So, and then,
Now you said you live right there on the beach.
yeah.
What about like mess facilities? Did you have a mess hall, or did you just eat rations?
No, we just got, when we left, we had actually 3 days of rations. We had one K ration and a D ration. Are you familiar with the D ration? Yeah. Well, that sounds nice, a chocolate bar. But the end of the second day, the chocolate bar didn't taste all that good. And then, we had some, was it 3-in-1, 4-in-1 boxes of food. And we never starved, although a couple of times we got a little hungry. It's amazing when you're 20 years old, you can do things like that. If I had to go out and live in a hole today, I think I'd be
Yeah.
a little stressed.
Now, did you spend the entire time on that beach, or did you get to go into town or anything?
No, actually, we were near St. Mary Glees,
Mm-hmm.
if you can call that a town. But we didn't do much of anything. There was enemy all around us.
Sure.
And so we kind of stuck to our area.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we were moved to Cherborg. And we stayed in Cherborg for almost a year.
What was life like there?
Well, we used to call it the armpit of creation. It was, it was kind of a bombed out city, and, well, we got by. And there we had a mess hall.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you ever under attack there?
No. Well, I say no. Every once in a while, we'd have to go out on patrol. And in fact, on 2 occasions, we had what they call a Jeep patrol, 3 Jeeps, 12 guys, and what would happen, the Germans would come off the Channel Islands, and every once in a while we'd make a raid on the opposite side of the peninsula from Cherborg, and so we'd have to go up and patrol the area. Never did run into any Germans, but we did have to do that. And apparently a few times, right there in Cherborg, there must have been some kind of activity, because we had to get rousted out and take our rifles and do what we had to do. And most of the time it was practice, and then all of a sudden, a couple of times it was real. We thought we'd be out there for 20 minutes. We were out there for about 4 hours. At 3 o'clock in the morning, it really isn't very enjoyable. So, and then from there, well, I had my furlough. The war was over now. I had the furlough. And the time I got back to Cherborg, the company was gone, and they had moved to Le Havre. So I had to catch up to my company.
Do you want to tell us about the leave you took?
Well, it was the Army did it quite nicely. I had to drop the officers off in Caen, and then I had to go on to Nice for the enlisted men. And I parked my Jeep, and they took me to my hotel, and all our meals were served in Hotel Negresco, which is really a gem in the Riviera. And on the way down, of course, we spent a couple of days in Paris, and on the way back, we spent a couple of days in Paris, and the whole trip was very enjoyable. Although I had to sleep with the captain one night, and I thought that was a little, I don't know, just an enlisted man sleeping with an officer. Well, he was a really nice guy and everything. It just kind of unnerved me a little bit, but I got through that. And so then we got back to Le Havre, and this is where the dog story comes in, if I may use it.
Sure.
My buddy came in one day and he says, hey, they're looking for taxi drivers. What they were, you started at 5 o'clock and you worked till 11. And you picked up the officers and brought them from their billets to the officers' club, or you took the female help and brought them home to their homes. And so, well, we decided to do that. It was kind of better than working to do anything else. So this one night, I have this lieutenant, and we're on a side street, and he had a girlfriend, and I'm waiting out front, and the MPs come by and said the numbers were worn off the Jeep bumper. Well, who cared about that? But anyway, the MPs are writing it up, and the lieutenant comes out, and oh, he said, you having any trouble? He said, if you have any trouble, he says, let me know. And I brought him back to his barracks, where he lived. And now we're in Camp 20 Grand, and I want to get the dogs inoculated for rabies. So we get a Jeep, we go down to Shed X. And Shed X is where they ship the doggies home. Now, 1946, we're talking $64. But not only that, you know, the poor dog would be in a crate for God knows how long. So we kind of train the dogs. So we go down to Shed X, and I see the sergeant, and I say, we'd like to get the dogs inoculated. And he says, we'd like to pay. Absolutely not. Really nasty sergeant. And who walks in but this lieutenant? And I said, oh, Lieutenant, you don't remember me. I'm the guy on the side street. He says, did you have any trouble? I said, no, I didn't have any trouble. But I said, we'd really like to get the dogs inoculated. He gave the sergeant hell and inoculated the dogs. Well, it just sounds like a short story. And so we got the dogs inoculated. So now, I've kind of jumped the story, but now we're getting ready to come home. And of course, we had trained the dogs. We put them in the duffel bag, and we kind of walked around with them. We did this for like 3 or 4 months. So we get on the ship, and let's see, I get on the ship, and well, the transport commander says, if anybody has pets, declare them. Well, we knew better than that. So we just waited until they shipped out, and we waited until they dropped off the harbor pilot, and then we went in and saw the company, the transport commander, and said, we have 2 dogs. SOB, how come you guys get one on every time? So he says, go down and see the lieutenant. And this was a Navy transport, so the policemen on that ship were Marines. A young lad, nice fella. He said, well, you can't really keep the dogs here. But he says, come on, I'll show you where you can keep them. Up in the back, on the above deck, there was the incinerator room. He says you can keep the dogs in here. In fact, you can stay here if you want, you know. And so what we did, we had 4, 5, 6 of our buddies, and we played pinochle all the way back. And on a troop ship like that, they come in a compartment, say everybody in this compartment's on KP today. Well, we get up at 5 o'clock and go up and stay with the dogs all day, and we wouldn't lock them in until about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. So we got out of lifeboat drill, we got out of KP, we got out of everything. It was kind of a neat deal. And we played a lot of pinochle, but yeah, it was kind of interesting. And then we were, I guess we're getting to the end of the story. We were discharged at Fort Dix. And then, now we're in Grand Central Station. We got, my buddy and I, we both got 2 dogs. And
now, you didn't have any problems at Fort Dix with the dogs or anything?
no, the only time we tied them up when we went to chapel to get our discharge. And so now I said to the train guy at the gate, I said, can't we just ride in the baggage car? Oh, he said, put them under your coat. And of course, it has to be the car the furthest away you could possibly get on that train, because we're going to Schenectady. So we put the doggies under our coat, and they were very well mannered. And sure enough, the trainman comes through, and he was a crabby old guy. And well, anyway, there was 4 or 5 sailors that said, look, you're going to give those guys a hard time, you're going to give us all a hard time. He backed off. So we got the doggies home, and he was a sweet little dog, and my buddy got his, we got our dogs home.
Now, your buddy, where did he live?
Schenectady.
He lived in Schenectady, too.
Also, yeah.
So how long did the dogs live?
Well, he lived about 13 or 14 years. So when we got him originally, he was already castrated, which was kind of unusual. They were just kind of stray dogs. Yeah. And so that's how that came out.
Whereabouts in Schenectady did you live?
On Wiley Street in Schenectady.
Okay.
And then I did several college things. I didn't really graduate from college.
Oh, okay, I was going to ask you that. You made use of the GI Bill then?
Some of it, yes, but then I dropped out like a dumbbell.
Whereabouts did you go to college?
Siena.
Siena?
And,
Okay.
But then after that, I took a lot of courses in St. Rose and Empire State College and Hudson Valley Community College and Russell Sage College. I did a lot of that.
So did you eventually end up with a degree?
No, I didn't.
No?
But I did a lot of interior designing for General Electric, New York
Oh,
Telephone
okay.
Company, and I was a sales rep for 35 years,
Oh,
which I kind of enjoyed.
sure.
Yeah.
Now, did you stay in contact with anyone you were in the service with?
Well, yeah, we had a couple of lad by the name of Peterson. He's passed away since then. Ralph Comanzo in Schenectady. There's a guy I went to grade school with. And there was 3 or 4 fellows that we kind of stayed in touch with a little bit, you know.
Mhm. Did you attend any reunions at all?
No, we never had anything like that.
Mhm.
It would have been kind of nice if we had, but
Yeah.
just never happened, you know.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Oh yeah, I belong to the VFW in Schenectady, and I never joined the Legion until I got down here, and then I belong here.
How did you end up down here?
I inherited my father's place or my grandfather's place.
Oh.
My dad come from here originally,
Uh-huh.
and he left here in 1916. He says there isn't much down here to make a good living at, and I was born and brought up in Schenectady.
Mhm.
And so you don't like the mineral water? What a shame.
How do you think your time in the service changed or affected your life?
Well, it's very interesting. You know, I was born and brought up in Schenectady, Albany area. I thought everybody could read and write. I didn't know people couldn't read and write. You just assume everybody could read and write.
Mhm.
There was 7 lads in our outfit that had to go down to the orderly room every night and learn how to write their names so they could sign the payroll. But you don't think about things like that, you know.
Well, yeah.
And they were good lads. We had quite a few coal miners. And we used to kid them. You look at the bottom of their feet, my God, looked like the soles of your shoes. And they didn't have shoes until I guess they were 12 years old or something. And that was kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was a revelation. Revelation.
Now, when you were overseas, did you get to see any USO shows or?
No, but I did have an interesting thing happen in Boston. Yeah, we did have one USO show. We didn't see too much of it. But I was in Boston, and my buddy and I were having dinner, and the sailor came by and he said, "Hey, you want these tickets to Duke Ellington has a swing concert at Symphony Hall?" I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be nice, they're free." So we present them to the box office, and the guy said, "Go through that door, and when you get to the end, turn left." And I said to my buddy on the way down, this is what makes it funny, I says, "This has got to be the last seat in the house." Would you believe we turned, and we're on the stage, right next to Duke. I was here to the chair from Duke Ellington.
Wow.
But the funny part of it, I said, "Oh, this has got to be the last seat in the house," and here, right on the stage. So that was kind of neat. But, I tell you, yeah, we used to go to the movies in England. That was kind of a revelation. The only reason we knew the movie was over is when they turned the lights on. Their movies did not climax like we do in the States. They just kind of move along and the movie's over. And we weren't kind of used to it. It was kind of funny. We used to laugh about it. Oh, movie's over, they turn the house lights on. So that's kind of a funny thing. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was a revelation. And, I don't know if I'd want to do that D-Day thing again, but it certainly was an education. And one thing about the Americans, they can have the most screwed up affair, and for some reason they can figure it out. What one guy would not think about, the other guy would. Even though he might be from West Virginia or Kentucky or New York City, it seems like our makeup is very applicable to getting things straightened out and getting things done.
Mhm.
Were you in service?
Yes,
Which war?
I was in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
I guess that was a different one.
Yeah, it was a different one.
No, see there, in World War II, I don't remember seeing any drugs at all.
Mhm.
Oh, and I guess you had quite a bit of that, didn't you,
Yeah.
during the Vietnam War?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of a hairy job too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was with a helicopter unit, so
Oh, wow.
got to see a lot of country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you a pilot?
No, I was crew chief and flight engineer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a tragic thing that just happened in New York?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So,
It happens.
yeah, it sure does.
All right, well, thank you very much for your interview.
Did I leave anything out? I probably.
Do you want to
Oh,
hold up
okay.
those pictures if you would? And that's your unit's monument?
Yeah.
And whereabouts is that?
What's that?
Whereabouts is that monument?
I didn't hear.
Whereabouts is the monument?
This is on Utah Beach.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think this is going to show up, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, if you bring it back
oh,
towards
whatever
you,
want.
I can zoom in on it. And that's the Croix de Guerre?
Croix de Guerre, signed by Charles de Gaulle.
Okay, got it. And then you had another photograph there?
Well, that was just
That's all right, you can hold that up.
my little dog. His name was Ito.
Ito?
E-T-O.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know what I forgot to tell you. I guess it's all right.
All right. Go ahead.
We received the
You can put
battle
that
star
down.
for Normandy,
Oh, okay.
northern France, and also received the bronze arrowhead,
Mhm.
which I believe you have to be there D-Day
Yes.
to get the bronze arrowhead.
All right, well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Has been picked for MP duty. Oh, geez. Oh, he says, not bad. He says, the mess hall's open 24 hours. And he says, I need a company clerk. So our buddy, we give him a jab. And, you know, the company clerk, the lieutenant says, I need 4 guys for this and 6 guys for that.
Yeah.
So he came down and he says, our buddies, he said, hey, here's all the jobs. What do you guys want? So it's kind of nasty, but
Now, where was that Camp 20 Grand?
it was outside of Le Havre.
Okay.
For,
Yeah, I know there was some called like Camp Lucky Strike and
yeah,
Chesterfield and,
yeah.
okay.
You want my,
Yeah, just
Oh,
sign
what-
and date that.
where do you
That's
want me to
fine.
sign? Oh, right here.
Yeah,
No, name of
Yeah.
interviewer.
yeah, that's me. Just you're the interviewee. Just sign there and date there.
Sign here?
Sign there and date it. Okay, thank you again.
My pleasure.